I wonder what sort of enemies 20 million awakened trees could take down in D&D. Hi, welcome to the channel. I want to thank you guys so much for the kind words and support you've shown me so far, and for subscribing to a channel that had no content, just on the off chance that it might persuade me to start releasing my own D&D campaign. Well, it worked! That's right, I'm going to start uploading content as soon as I'm done with exams. I wasn't actually thinking of putting anything up just yet because, as I say, I'm coming up to exams. But at the same time I started hearing about this Team Trees movement with Mr. Beast trying to plant 20 million trees in the next 60 days. And I thought, well, what a perfect incentive to start uploading videos. And a great cause to be on board with, of course. Having said that, I'm no botanist or a gardener, and so I wasn't really sure what I could contribute. But then I thought, well, what I am good at is math and D&D, and so where those two meet, I figured I could talk about the stats of 20 million awakened trees rather than 20 million real trees. So in 5th edition D&D, there is a 5th level spell called Awaken. It takes 8 hours to cast, and it consumes a gem worth 1,000 gold pieces. The whole effect of the spell is to take a non-sentient life, such as a beast or a plant, and turn it into a sentient moving creature. So, do you have 20 billion gold pieces? Do you have 3 5th level spell slots and no need to rest every day to get them back? Do you have 18,253 years to spend awakening trees? Well then, perfect. Once they're done planting 2 million trees, you can go around and awaken them all for your own private army. How much room is it going to take up on the battlefield? Well, in the rules, an awakened tree controls an area of the battlefield by about 15 feet by 15 feet. And so 20 million of those means that you'll only be taking up about 161 square miles, which is bigger than the city of New Orleans. Well, thankfully we play with miniatures in this game, so you don't need an actual city to play in. Each mini with a 3x3 inch grid, each tree would take up 9 inch square, and 20 million times 9 inch square is only about 29 acres. So you're going to need a table that's about 29 acres. But of course, if you have that many minis, then you probably have tens of millions of dollars to spend on minis and painting. So you probably have access to 29 acres as well. So let's say you want to get this done in under a year because you don't really feel like spending 18,000 years on it. So you get your 20,000 closest friends, assuming that all of them are 11th level druids, and you chip in. You have no time to eat or sleep. You spend the wealth reserves of a small country, but at the end of it you have an army of 20 million awakened trees. So now what? You don't want to waste this arboreous army on goblins and orcs, but thankfully the game gives us a couple of stat blocks for challenge rating 30 monsters, and as the Murder Hobo motto goes, if it has stats, we can kill it. With the final words, you ceremoniously trace your hand over the runes in the agate, and then with a flash of lilac light, the gemstone begins to softly glow and hum. Your 20,000 old friends are watching with a bated breath. Your 19,999,999 new friends are watching with no breath at all, as you gently touch the stone to the bark of the last tree and speak the words, "Awaken, friend, and welcome to the world." And with that, the gemstone in your hand shatters. The lilac light infuses itself into the bark of the tree, and instantly you start to hear groaning and creaking as the roots and branches start to move on their own. There is a thunderous applause from the immense forest around you as all the trees start clapping their branches together and stomping their uprooted roots. This goes on for several minutes until eventually it dies down. The sound of thunderous applause is still in the air, despite them not clapping anymore. And you realize it's coming from beneath you. The rumbling and groaning is now coming from deep within the ground. Seemingly 20 million trees stomping at once has awoken something from its slumber. Some sort of primordial ancient power, dormant for millennia, is now waking. Towards the middle of the 7-mile radius forest, the ground begins to crack and fall away into a sinkhole at least 400 feet square. And as the trees near it approach to look into the hole, a gigantic claw comes out, smash, on top of one tree, splintering it into tiny pieces of wood. Another one on the other side, smash, scattering the trees in the nearby area. And then, like a python being charmed out of a basket, a large, draconic red head comes up from the hole. On its left side, an icy white draconic head. A blue one on the right. Finally, a green and a black head emerge from the hole, all attached to these serpent-like necks that attach to this torso of a gigantic, gargantuan beast. A dragon riding on top of a bipedal, scaly dinosaur of a creature, horned and fearsome in its own right. And as Tiamat climbs off of the Tarasque and looks around at the immense forest, she says, "Let's do this." Roll initiative. Now, as most experienced DMs would probably agree, we should probably roll initiative for all the trees at once, rather than trying to keep a track individually. Natural 20! Alright, so the trees will be up here, probably first, even with their -2 modifier. Tiamat and the Tarasque have a 0 dexterity, believe it or not. 19 for Tiamat, 14 for the Tarasque. So Tiamat, trees, Tiamat, Tarasque in that order. Also, to save time, I will be using all the average damage rolls and attacks, just because, you know, it'll save literally hundreds of years. Tiamat and the Tarasque, as you can see, are gargantuan. That means that they take up 20 feet by 20 feet of the battlefield. So assuming that they split up and the trees are able to get between them, just to make the combat harder for themselves, I feel like they would want a challenge, and it's not at all just so that the calculations are easier for me. Well then, in that case, the battlefield would look something like this. So basically, monster in the middle, 12 trees within 10-foot reach. Obviously they extend outwards for 7 miles in each direction, so when one tree dies, another one has enough movement to pop into its space. Okay, so now for some stats things. The Tarasque and Tiamat each have an armor class of 25. That means that you need to hit 25 to hit them. So the dice only rolls up to a 20, but thankfully the awakened trees have a +6 modifier to their hit. So if they roll a 19, they hit. If they roll a 20, they hit. If they hit, they do 3d6 plus 4 damage, unless it's a critical, in which case it's 6d6 plus 4 damage. So I did all the maths already, and basically it works out that with 12 attacks per round, we're expecting an average of 23.7 hit points of damage. So it's doable. They're killable. Except for this pesky thing here, where each of them are immune to bludgeoning from non-magical attacks. Are the awakened trees' attacks magical? No, they are not. So our actual damage output per round is 0. Bugger. I suppose we're screwed then, right? Wrong! You remember all our old mates over here at the edge of the forest? 20,000 druids? Well, you see, they don't want to get involved in the fight directly, but they also don't want to let their investment go to waste. And druids, they can get around. So through a mixture of long strider, jump, misty step, gaseous form, haste, freedom of movement, tree stride, and transport via plants, they can get into the infantry and they can cast Shillelagh. Now, Shillelagh is a interesting spell that allows them to make the weapon attacks of the trees magical. And now they can get through their defenses and cause some damage. Those two bad guys going down easy, right? Wrong! This is the problem. You see, Tiamat has an ability called Regeneration. If she has at least 1 hit point, she regains 30. Now, I am a maths major, so I'll do the maths for you. We're doing 23 points of damage to her, and she's healing by 30. So that means that we're doing less damage than she... Oh. So my solution to this is really quite simple. Bend the rules. You see, we need to come up with a way to stop Tiamat flying away anyway. So why not have the trees dogpile? Alright, so 4 more of them jump on top of her, holding her down and giving her beats in the ribs and whatnot. So these guys jump on board, and now with those extra 4 attacks per round, up to 16 total tree attacks per round, the damage output average is 31.6. We now are doing more damage to her than she's healing every round, which means that with a net damage of 1.6 hit points per round, it should only take about 384 rounds to kill her. And that's only 38 minutes of in-game time. So really the only question remaining, which I'm sure you're all thinking, is can Tiamat and the Tarasque kill 20 million trees in less than 38 minutes? That's a challenge question for you guys to answer. Let me know in the comments, and if there's enough interest in me doing so, I will do the maths on it and put another video out. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. You've earned a point of inspiration for doing so. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content coming soon, now that I'm nearing the end of my exams. And also don't forget that while fantasy trees are pretty powerful, real world trees are even more important. And so before you forget, head down to the link below, Arbor Day Foundation, donate what you can. See you in the next one.